think something in terms of generally to do well is just patience and taking the time to develop relationships with multiple purveyors. Again, I work at SCA level, but it behooves us to, as programs are out there and even other divisions or districts are using it, you don't want folks saying, hey, because this district's using it or this principal said something. But if there are folks using it, starting conversations earlier and having that patience, knowing it may not pay off immediately, but you're developing some partnerships and relationships with a cadre of developers. And then the second part would be to start small and go deep. I mean, it's like a little transformation zone, right? If it already exists, it may help to, sit down and talk with a district and really kind of, go through it, because, how we use the AI frameworks or other even implementation frameworks, this isn't business as usual. This is a different way of doing it. I mean, we're how many years into this, but it's still something new. So that would be the part of it. Cultivating teams to think about, what would be some simple information when we meet to keep bringing back to each other to see if things are going, in the right direction, or else, I think that relationship would, dissolve at some point. So you want some kind of information, some kind of improvement cycle happening, and setting up a regular meeting. And maybe early on it's, quarterly, but, once you decide to work with a purveyor, it could be more frequent. The other piece is sometimes there are discretionary funds if you are trying to, again, educational agency, a whole bunch of other ways of thinking through funding, or leveraging funding. But, how can you set up a grant or a fund to work with a purveyor in such a way that the outcome of that is going to leave both of us and teams with usable products, structures, and ways of doing work more independently. And again, that's got to be handled with a sense of, you're working oftentimes with businesses or people who are on grant cycles. So, hopefully, what becomes developed out of this can either lead to further research or modifying other pieces of the model. There was a lot of learning happening, and even in previous projects that I've been involved in, been on terrific teams, this idea of taking notes about what particularly didn't work. Is this an organization that says, you know what, we got our thing, not interested, and feeling that out or learning early if this is going to be a relationship or not. So, but making that decision at some points, having some sort of criteria to say, yeah, this is not going to work, and that's okay. It's absolutely okay. But again, it's always about selection, and that includes where you want to invest your time and energy with working with an intermediary or purveyor organization. But the key is to how do you quickly get it into some kind of usability test, like apply it as quickly as you can with the work. And I think that goes for anybody sitting, at an implementation table. So if I were to do things differently, especially in two of these, one project, we spent a lot of time, doing the implementation stuff, teaching it. And that was okay, but I'm not sure there was a return on investment. Whereas this time we went more with what the purveyor's doing. And I think what maybe we missed out on was like lifting up or calling out the conceptual piece during the practice. So it's like finding that sweet spot, if that makes sense. That would be, I've seen that enough where we either go too much conceptual and then nothing's applied, or it's superficially applied, or or applying it, which I'd rather do. If I'm going to make an error, I'd rather go that way. But then to back up and provide language so that those conversations can happen and be measured. People say it's like kind of sort of, I mean, I have some PBIS work. It's like, yeah, we're doing PBIS. We're kind of sort of doing PBIS. We're doing Check and Connect. We're kind of sort of doing Check-in. We're doing an SEL, you know, or we're doing an academic innovation. We're kind of sort of doing it. So it's a difference between kind of sort of doing it and doing it and checking off that the important implementation structures are being addressed.